Did you miss some of your favorite characters in Stranger Things? Or have you forgotten what unique abilities some characters had? It's quite cool watching them use their powers against government conspiracies and interdimensional demonic entities. Also, if you're a movie fan who likes to get familiar with characters in a movie before joining in to watch it, we'll cover the main characters in Stranger Things in this video using their power ranking. We'll cover 15 characters and rank them with their powers from the least. Eddie Munson stands as number 15 on the list. It's disappointing that Eddie won't appear in the 5th and final episode of the Stranger Things series because he was unquestionably one of the most entertaining additions to the 4th season. Eddie might have survived the Upside Down if he had the satanic abilities Hawkins thought he possessed. Therefore, it was a tragedy. Eddie may have been cute, but it was obvious that he wasn't suited for the world of the paranormal because the first time he made the decision to actually defend himself against the creatures of the Upside Down was also his last. Next is Steve Harrington. Steve made an effort, but he was not recognized as one of the confirmed bad in the Stranger Things universe, despite his best efforts. He was fast to adapt to any scenario and equally ready to face any threat that he came across, but to put it frankly, most of the kids in the series were more adept at managing dire circumstances than he was. His coping skills improved over time, yet he still acted as the babysitter. We also have Dustin Henderson as the number 13th character. Every child in the group had something to give in terms of tense situations, and none of them was incapable of fending off some very strong opponents. However, Dustin was a force to be feared because he had defeated a Demogorgon, the government team that hunted for El, and a group of Russian agents who tried to reopen the dimensional gate. He wasn't quite up to par with some others, but when you consider that he was a helpless youngster, he was extraordinary. Lucas Sinclair is the 12th character here. The dedication with which Lucas fought to keep Max and Eddie alive in Season 4 really demonstrated what Lucas was capable of on his own. Lucas has never shied away from taking on opponents who were far more powerful than he was. Lucas faced off against some of the deadliest forces Hawkins had to offer and emerged at least somewhat triumphant, whether it was an evil Spider-Man demon or just jock suffering from a serious case of satanic panic. At number 11 is Max Mayfield. Max was frequently dragged along by otherworldly events in Hawkins and was not always of her own volition. She was an admirable ride-or-die companion, but Season 4 truly allowed her to shine where she demonstrated her capabilities. Max may not have had any superpowers, but her mental fortitude made her more resistant to Vecna's attacks than any of his previous 3 victims. Max was an amazing badass in terms of ordinary people. Next up at number 10 is Mike Wheeler. Although Mike wasn't as fortunate as El to have actual superpowers, that doesn't mean he wasn't a very powerful and capable person in his own way. Mike was an intriguing figure to observe since he was unreservedly committed to his buddies. He functions roughly as Captain America does in the MCU. While he may not be as brilliant as Tony Stark or as powerful as the Hulk, he made a wonderful leader because of his unshakable commitment to morality. His unwavering attitude in the face of impossible circumstances was his genuine superpower, not his strength. That was what Mike was like. Mike gathered his buddies for a search despite adults in Hawkins, the town police, and his D&D group begging him to stop. No man had to be left behind. Nancy stands at number 9. At first glance, Nancy did not appear to be the kind of person who would voluntarily engage in combat with anyone, either her boss or a ferocious monster. But she also struggled when things were difficult. Everyone would want someone like her on their side while battling a Demogorgon. In addition to the fact that she expertly figured out what happened to Barb and made it to the Upside Down, she also ably defended herself against that extremely hazardous beast that had infiltrated the human dimension. Since then, her self-assurance and competence have only increased. Haven't seen your favorite yet? Next up, we have Jim Hopper at number 8. Jim Hopper didn't actually possess any superpowers, unlike the majority of the other characters. But even so, he was a formidable opponent who possessed a wide range of abilities, connections, and skills that were extremely useful when the going got tough. He could easily hold his own against anyone, including special agents, foreign operatives, and actual interdimensional monsters. He was intelligent and a very skilled fighter. It's not impossible to assume that Jim would have eventually found his way out of a Russian prison with or without Joyce, despite the fact that she had eventually come to his rescue. Whatever made Joyce Byers who she was also made her an intimidating and fierce fighter. We have her at number 7 on our list. It could have been simple maternal intuition, a desperate need to have hope, even if it was a logical far shot, or an exceptional readiness to believe in the strange. Whatever mojo Joyce had, it was strong since she used it to connect with Will from a separate dimension, and to keep Elle tethered while she explored the ethereal domain. She was also perhaps one of the least knowledgeable or connected individuals when the novel began. Yet, she had not only risen to the occasion, but excelled in comparison to many of the other characters in terms of what she had been able to do. Next on the list is Will Byers, who stands at number 6 on the list. No young boy should ever have to witness the tragedies that Will Byers had gone through. However, he appeared to have developed some latent psychic abilities as a result of his experiences in the Upside Down, and he then seemed to be able to perceive a lot of things that most people weren't able to perceive. He seemed to have some form of real sight that enabled him to look into the other world, as evidenced by the fact that he was able to converse with his mother from the Upside Down. It was remarkable that he survived the Demogorgon and the Upside Down at all, given how many people it had destroyed and how young he was when he did. Wondering how the first 5 are ranked? Here it is. Next up at number 5 is Martin Brenner. The final and verified demise of Dr. Brenner was not one of the truly tragic moments in Stranger Things 4, though. He was a cunning but vicious guy, and although his experiments produced some amazing outcomes, his complete inability to properly manage them clearly showed how little power he actually possessed. He was a skilled manipulator and was able to remove some power from others, but in the end, the youngsters he tried to dominate were the ones with real power, and he was simply the man in the background. At number 4 is the Demogorgon. On several tiers, it appeared that the Demogorgon was just another animal that escaped from another dimension and made its way into their own. Although, given the expanding Upside Down lore, it wasn't surprising to learn that there were more to these monsters, and it was incredibly challenging to defeat because it was so foreign to those who resided in their dimension. However, it was a very strong creature, and the fact that it could actually cross dimensions and appeared to open portals between them on its own gave it a very extraordinary level of power. Number 3 on our list is Vecna. Vecna's actions provided a unique window into the extent of his power because the demonic creature once known as Number 1 engaged practically every known child with superpowers and wiped them out, killing all but one, 11. During his time in the Upside Down, his abilities, or at least his control over them, appeared to have gotten stronger. Although Elle was able to defeat him again, he was a fiercely powerful creature because of his capacity to direct the Upside Down into actual death and destruction. Now, on the final 2. Standing at 2 on the list is 11. Near the end of Stranger Things 4, 11 truly came into her own in terms of both mental toughness and superpowers. She not only utterly defied Papa's authority, but when she appeared to have brought Max back from the grave, she also displayed some extraordinary new skills. Elle was truly capable of engaging in combat with some scary interdimensional monsters who were capable of things that most people could only imagine. She was also the best in the business at telepathy, as demonstrated by the fact that she was the only child at Hawkins' lab to survive Henry Creel's attack while all the others were slaughtered. She was, without a doubt, the most dominant human figure in the series, and it was unlikely that she lost her crown. Finally, at number 1 is the Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer was, without a doubt, the most potent Stranger Things character or being, at least during the entire series thus far. The Mind Flayer had one significant advantage over the artist formerly known as Henry Creel, despite the fact that it could be difficult to tell where Vecna ended and the Flayer began. The Flayer was able to take its flay and produce one of the most terrifying and repulsive physical shapes possible. In addition to having the ability to mentally enslave any human that it came in touch with, even without the mind slave abilities, it was nearly impossible to fight the enormous flesh spider. There you have it. These characters in Stranger Things faced a circumstance that called for them to use their abilities to respond. Did you see your favorite character? How do you rate these characters? For those who haven't seen it, I recommend you do. It's actually interesting. Remember to subscribe and like, and see you in the next video.